Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony First Thoughts. On this channel we talk Doctor Who. We do it for ourselves.
Yeah,
We're not interested in what you think. Well, we are, but we're
we
not.
are.
This is
Yeah,
more for us.
yeah.
It's more
This is
for us.
chatting. This is chatting.
So feel free to listen along. This
Yes.
week we're talking about, it's been a few days since the
Yes.
Giggle
Not so
has
much for
aired. What
first
is
thoughts, but
Yeah, like the first time we've talked about it.
true.
I guess
Yeah.
in extensive discussion together.
Oh, and I apologise for the
Um,
background, by the way.
it's just so bright in
It's
there.
blinding. Yeah.
The power of a sun behind you. It's like
Mm.
I'm sure it's like the TARDIS when it's just randomly super bright in the
Yeah.
Suvius episode where it's like, yep, let's just make it white light because he's
Well, why not?
saving
Why not?
people. So there we go. Are you saving us with your great takes about the Giggle? Who knows? Let's find out. So yeah, few days. Obviously, I've been anticipating the
Mm.
Toymaker's return for a super duper long time. I've always wanted him to return. I thought he was such a cool idea as a character.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
he,
yeah,
he was
you
always,
know,
he was always a name that kind of came up in like speculation as to, you know, him like people like him, Omega, and the meddling monk were always like the three, which were like every year people are going to be like, oh, it's going to happen this year. Oh, I swear this must mean blank. Oh, there are dolls on set. That must mean the toy maker. No,
Toymaker. I think
something
Night
completely
Terror's very
different.
much got
Oh,
that.
there's a monk.
Yeah.
It must be the monk. No. Oh, Gallifrey.
But
Omega must be no.
yeah. Yeah, every time it never happened. But this time it did. This time it
Yes.
did. And it made sense. And I really loved everything around the Toymaker. I
Mm.
actually really enjoyed about this
Oh,
episode. I think
absolutely.
I just want to talk
Absolutely.
about the Toymaker for a bit. So obviously Neil Patrick Harris plays it. So good in the role. I
Perfectly
think
cast.
he is from the first scene.
Mm.
He really straight away you're just intimidated by this guy.
Mm.
You kind of, I guess from trailers we know he's the bad guy, but
Yeah.
like even if he came to this episode just as is, he's creepy.
Mm.
He's, the accent and the accent slipping
Yeah.
was really interesting. I was kind of glad he was putting on a voice. I was a bit like, this is an odd choice, but yeah,
Yeah.
the whole he's just messing about. He's
Yeah, he
playing a
is, yeah.
game.
Exactly. It's just.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
That.
I really loved
Also,
obviously please.
when he's, doing like his standard accent and the way his sort of facial expression and mannerisms are, like from what we've seen of the original Toymaker episode, like he perfectly sort of gets it. Like that smirk in particular is just absolutely Michael Goff, like right there. Like he clearly, went back and had a look to see, it's all on point, but further evolved and of course very much his take.
Yeah. I think, it's that next level, but you definitely feel the same. This is the same character, right? This
Hmm.
is the same Toymaker who
Yeah,
fought the Doctor all that time ago.
doesn't even look
And
dissimilar.
no, yeah, it was good. I quite like the scene where they kind of flashed, that
Hmm.
the colored, Toymaker
Yeah.
and First Doctor kind of on screen. But it was very well done. In some ways that my only kind of heartbreak about this is that it was only for one episode. I just really feel
Hmm.
he's a concept which deserves a cliffhanger and you know uh, two parts. Just I feel like
Hmm.
they did so much in this episode and I loved it, but
Yeah.
I feel like there could have just been so much more potential with the
Hmm.
character. What everything that they did, I loved, but I just wish we had that little bit more, a few more conversations between the two. I think, like
Hmm.
there was the difference between being an actual god and, to us, Time Lords are kind of gods, right? They're these
Yeah.
beings who live for a long time, very knowledgeable, this and that.
Hmm.
What I love is that scene when the Doctor's just in the corridor. It is like, without the TARDIS and the Sonic, I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a person
Hmm.
who lives life by rules that
Yeah.
I believe in, I have faith in, and the toy maker that there's no rules. It's
Hmm.
literally he can do whatever he
Yeah.
likes, and that was
real-
Such a
reality
lovely
and
moment.
what we hold as fact is kind of irrelevant to him,
Yeah,
and how it
he
works,
just
who
does
knows?
whatever
He
he.
just is, It's one of these
And
like
that's it. It doesn't
eternal
need
beings
explaining.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, just
I
plays the
like.
other. Like I've always just enjoyed this concept. It's not just the original like Celestial Toymaker, but also like Enlightenment as well, which really also shows off the potential of them. Because in that episode, there's just a bunch of them that decide, you know what, we're gonna have a boat race. We're just gonna
Yeah,
fling a bunch of people in here, and we're just gonna have like a boat race, but it's in space. And it's like such a dumb idea, but it's taken, of course, so seriously because these sort of beings are just they're just bored and they can just you don't care, so they can just mess about with people however they want.
exactly. And they can do whatever they like, and you can tell that. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I love the use of Stooky Bill and
Hmm.
like just weaving that history in.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed that opening scene and how, he was planted in every single screen from the
Hmm.
start, right? That
Yeah.
first image kind of got almost burnt
And I mean, the
into
original
everything.
doll in itself was creepy. I mean, if you've seen like pictures of how it kind of looked, again, it's basically how it is in
Oh
the
yeah.
episode, essentially. Like, and that is just like, yeah. And as Russell said, like the doll idea came before the Toymaker idea.
Yeah,
Because he was like,
yes.
yes, I'm gonna make an episode kind of around this, but also, I don't know, wasn't sure about making an episode where the doll was the antagonist, so kind of thought
Yeah, he was like, okay,
Toymaker.
who yeah, he was like, who controls the puppet? So there's who's the puppet master? Well, this is a toy maker, 60th anniversary,
Yeah.
1960s villain. So it all kind of just lined up perfectly. And I agree. I think it's, very,
Hmm.
very nicely done. And, obviously it continues from next week. There's a very uh there's a wolf stunt double and some dialogue from Sontaran
Well,
two-parter
there's like
for this
one
scene.
line, I think, just to,
It's from the Sontaran two-parter.
yeah.
The go with him, Donna. Go with the doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Well, I
is
mean,
living off screen.
sort of like hidden a little bit into the background. So it's like, yeah, you can tell sort of he's saying something just as a sort of like, yeah, he's going now. But
Yeah,
it also,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
It's
yeah,
interesting. It's funny. Yeah. So the whole thing of there's so the giggle, right? The thing
mm,
that's driving the world mad.
mm,
A great concept. I really like, when they first come to Cage is like, how do we fight the human
yeah.
race? Like,
It's serious
what do
when
you do?
Kate just like comes up, holds the door to close. And it's just like completely like at a loss. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that serious.
Yeah, I think I did see one plot thing where I was like, that's kind of fair, which was that how did they manage to if it affects so quickly, right? Because she takes off the armband and
Yeah.
then she wasn't going to let anyone put one on her. How did they manage so quickly to one produce these things and then two also they get them on people? Unless I guess the giggle if it was a slower thing before it affected everyone and it was at its most powerful point
Um.
then. I guess that's
I mean,
my thinking.
they got the robot, and
Yes, actually,
Mel
that's
isn't
in
affected.
the links.
Flink. Yeah.
Yes, because of I guess yeah. Actually, it must be kind of Mel who we go with, which is quite nice. So let's talk about Mel now, and then we'll move on to the links.
Yeah.
So obviously Mel shows up.
Hmm.
I kind of almost had this surprise slightly ruined because I looked at the
Yeah.
gallery of photos that were released, because usually they're
Yeah.
non-spoilery, and in the background, albeit very blurry,
Yeah.
was a red-headed woman next to
Yeah.
Donna. I was like, oh, that's Mel. Oh, that
Ki-
makes sense because she was at the 60th anniversary
uh,
photo shoot,
uh,
and like
yeah. That
the
was
dots
also
finally connected.
in the background of a trailer. Like people had already kind of picked up on that actually.
Ah, see,
So
I didn't
it
until
already
the
kind of
gallery.
spread, but yeah, they kind of
Yeah,
they gave up at a certain point. I think a little bit. I mean, they didn't fully, but you know.
Fully, yeah. So I wasn't too surprised when she showed up, but yeah, it was great to see her again and actually being, a computer
Hmm.
specialist because that's what her whole
Well,
character was in the Seventh Doctor era, and she never went once touched a computer the whole
yeah.
time.
Well, I think the important thing about Mel here, and I mean, I had a problem with Power of the Doctor, like specifically in that, when they brought back Tegan and Ace, they didn't bring back Tegan and Ace as if they, evolved in that time. Particularly with in Ace's case, like they brought back Ace, and Ace acted exactly as Ace did back in the 80s, and it was weird to me, just that they didn't show any sort of, I guess,
Growth.
progression or
Yeah.
growth, or like, yeah, of course, give her a baseball bat at some point, and have a little bit of that, but like the way she talked, the way she acted and whatnot, it was
Yeah. You
it was
needed Ace to be
identical.
almost
Whereas
the
here,
opposite.
yeah, it
I
well,
think,
not not
like
not
almost
not
jaded by that experience, and then through the adventure, she opens up a little bit
yeah.
more back to that youthful.
I mean,
I think that's the way that I would have done Ace had I written it.
I wouldn't quite necessarily go that far, but particularly like who again, she sounded like she was still trying to do that sort of 80s teen sort of dialogue. I think was the bigger problem. Whereas like like maybe that'd be a payoff at some point, like towards the end of the episode, she finally goes like Ace or something, but you know like, it's just the way they wrote her was again exactly like they.
Yeah, it's like her language and nothing about her had changed or
Yeah.
evolved, and we know that that changes. People
Hmm.
use different. People will say things. I used to say wild lows, and I
Yeah.
don't say that as
Yeah.
much anymore, right? Like, it's stuff that
Yeah.
your thing naturally changes,
But
especially from being a kid to now adult.
I think that's the
Yeah,
important thing about Mel here is that she feels like she's this much older than she was when she left. It's been a long time, like 40 years at this point.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like you can kind of feel that. Like, yes, she's not. She still has some of that, spirit, but clearly, and there's stuff which they kind of imply about her, which I guess we'll find out whenever, in terms of like her family and such, which I would say isn't a thing like in any previous media. Like, it's not just something they picked out from like a book or the audios. Like, her family being gone is presumably something that might well be built on when she comes back. But yeah, it's just it's things like that, and yeah, the whole like how she got back to Earth and such. Like, again, there feels like a growth, a progression, just in terms of her maturity and the way she speaks. And again, there is still a bit of that twinkle, and like, especially when she
yeah.
speaks to the Doctor and stuff. It was really cute. I really love, when they first meet and the Doctor, then after that, just when he comes extra, just like hi hi, it was really nice. But clearly she's been through a lot since then. It shows in the dialogue.
Yeah, I think Russell. What I love is he chose Mel, I think, because he's like, I'm gonna do her justice
Hmm.
at last.
Yeah.
Bonnie Langford is a great actress.
Hmm.
She just had shite to work with
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah.
Like, let's be perfectly
They never
honest.
even gave her an
Um,
introduction. It's a
no,
serious thing.
she's just there, and they're carrot juice
A
and all this
future
and that, and
companion. Well, again, presumably, like, I don't know. I don't know if this would have happened, but had maybe if Colin had got a third season, he would have properly met Mel. I don't know
I
if
think
that
that
was
was the
ever.
plan.
Yeah.
They would
Whereas,
have. I think the start of a series would have been Mel's first story, kind
yeah.
of thing, and
Hmm.
then it would have gone from there.
I don't
But
know if
yeah,
that's like officially how it was going to go down. I don't haven't
also it
actually
doesn't
read
really make
anything like that,
sense
but
because at the end of at the end of the Ultimate Fight, they both go into the
yeah.
TARDIS and go carrot juice, but like that doesn't make sense because
Well,
that's in the
presume
Doctor's future.
I,
So
gue- I
why would
guess he would
he?
have dropped her back. I mean, there have been explanations. In fact, after having been frustrated enough by that, I bought this book. I haven't read that far into it clearly, but this book has a explanation of some description about
There we go.
meeting Bright and such. And there is another one. I think Big Finish give another one, but you know,
Yeah. But Mel was lovely. She didn't do. She worked out the whole, it was a arpeggio and how
yeah.
that kind of worked there. Um, Nothing too major, but it was nice that she was there. It was nice there was a classic companion.
Hmm.
There's,
Yeah.
when you want a multi-doctor story, this
Yeah.
is this is a multi-doctor story. We do
Yeah.
get it. It's
We
just a
do.
very different one.
It's a
And
very
like,
different
having
thing,
a
yeah.
classic companion, yeah,
Yeah.
like that was nice. It was a nice
Yeah.
extra touch. So the Vlinks. I'm calling it now. The Vlinks is a bad guy. Calling it. Calling it.
Hmm.
The Vlinks is gonna turn on
Interesting.
unit. I
Interesting.
I I have a feeling that something to do with the boss and this whole evil. I don't think the Vlinks is the big main thing.
No.
Like I don't
No.
think, but I think the Vlinks will be a pawn in the bigger game.
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, of course, that's happened. A few times in the show. Like, of course, I think back to stupid chameleon, but also Mr. Smith did had kind of a
Mr. Smith.
as
Yeah.
well.
And I think it's
But
always a good plot device, right? Like
yeah.
if these things come back around, it's just such an
Mm,
interesting thing, right? This
yeah.
computer alien in unit,
I mean, yeah.
trusted.
It's quite possible. I guess the other thing in terms of that, just given the fact that they don't really give it much of an introduction, might just inherently be that it's if this rumored unit spin-off happens, like we have a new character for it. I guess could be the other way
It'll
of
be
just looking at it.
interesting though. Yeah, I just think there's more to it, right?
Hmm.
They drop this thing and it's like, yeah, look at this thing, deal with that. We're gonna deal with that later.
Yeah.
But it's just a thing, deal with it now, kind
Yes.
of
Yes.
thing. Um, yeah. So obviously it's kind of set in two main locations, isn't it? It's kind of in Soho, the Toymaker's shop slash his
Yeah.
domain and unit. That's kind of really the two locations that this
Yeah.
whole special goes across. So
Yes.
so they go back in time. He quickly realizes it's the toy maker. I'm pretty glad they didn't do this whole, oh, who is this
Who
person?
could it be?
Obviously he's a bit distracted when everyone's trying to like kill each other, kind of, or fight, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's dancing there, and he does the
Well,
kind of the
actually,
creepy
I just
wave.
wanted to. Sorry, I mean we jumped ahead, but a bit. But like, I just wanted to say the whole scene where Kate takes off the bracelet was like
Oh
blimmin'.
yeah,
Like, I think Kate Stewart's had like sometimes not had so much to display in terms of like emotions or in terms of what they kind of give her with the material, but like finally giving her something kind of like that and like really letting her just kind of let loose was like so chilling. And like that was just a that's just a moment where like, oh my god.
yeah. Ever since she showed up in what 2013,
Hmm.
she's been in it for 10 years now. She's
Yeah,
been in both
it's
anniversary
crazy. Yeah.
specials, which is great. I love that. And actually, yeah, they characterized her really well in this one. Like straight away after everything's over, she asks for like the list of she wants the families of the people who died, and she's kind of like, right, I got the job to do. Like,
Hmm.
doesn't say goodbye to the doctor. She's off. She's got stuff
Yeah.
to do. Thank you, doctor, but I gotta do shit.
Yeah.
You can do your goodbyes to your
Yeah. Yeah.
companions. Like,
Yeah.
just really, like, I always look forward to seeing her, but even more so in this new era, I think, it's gonna be,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
very exciting. And Shirley Bingham, obviously again is going to be, I think, returning throughout
Yeah. Yeah.
the next era and probably this spin-off, whatever it is. But yeah,
I think they've set up like
Ruth.
she's gonna go to TARS at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
Given
as
that they've
there's
done the ramp,
the
she's
ramp.
gonna go in there at
Yeah,
some point.
yeah, of course, of course. Probably, I guess the finale of next series. I'm guessing because we've
Could be.
seen Mel on the scooter with Shooty. So if a finale was the last one they filmed, then it will be a unit story.
Yeah.
Whether that will be the boss, we'll see.
Hmm.
We'll get onto the boss, or
Or
the thing,
or
because
whether or not
obviously we kind of,
they're even the same
well,
thing. Maybe they
yeah,
could
they
be
could be
referring to
two
two
very
different
different
things.
things.
Yeah.
But we'll get onto that. So obviously well, it's not obvious, but they go back to the past. It's the Toymaker. They enter his domain, and they're like, "Uh-oh, we're stuck in these corridors," which is a
Yeah.
really nice moment where they kind of get split up. We see some of their like trapped beings from the past kind of
Hmm.
thing. People who lost the game.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted some clans to show up at some point, but hey ho, you can't get everything.
Yeah.
Had there
No.
been a two-parter,
I mean,
maybe.
they're referenced. I mean, like on some of the wooden pillars, like we were seeing in like some of the set photos, they actually had the face of the clowns from the original Toymaker
Yeah,
story. But
the hanging thing was as well, like
yeah,
outside the shop to say it
yeah.
was a toy shop. But like, I kind of just wished
Hmm.
there was maybe like it's why to me it needed another part just to really like.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to see him
Hmm.
play a few more games. Like we ended up with only
Maybe.
kind of two
I mean,
games of a Toymaker, but
I honestly, for me, generally, the pacing was about right. Like, I
oh,
could
pacing's great for this,
yeah,
but there's so much more that you could have done, and now he's kind of
yeah,
banished from existence. It's a bit like, oh, okay.
true, true, but you know, I mean, I felt like, I mean, yeah, and I agree, and yeah, of course, I really did enjoy, all the stuff they do with the toy maker, but of course,
Yeah.
the most important thing here was the 14th Doctor's sort of arc, I guess, coming to its conclusion, as they kind of set it
Yeah.
up throughout, like, especially this bit, like,
Yeah, they try and like before they go in the shop they go like you're staggering, like
yeah,
you're so tired. I kind of wish we'd seen that a bit more physically, like just the Doctor a bit like not thinking so clearly. I think at
mm,
some points there was never any bit where it was like, oh, just like his brain is like just slow because he's tired and just weighed down by everything. Like
mm. I
I feel
mean,
like maybe what
you
we
could
needed
possibly,
across the specials is the Doctor just being a bit slow with things.
mm,
Like,
I
but
mean,
every time he's been pretty sharp, really. He got
yeah.
Meep was bad pretty straight away. He worked out what the not things were quite quickly.
True.
So
I
it
do think
never
there was
felt
maybe a
like.
little bit of it in Wild Blue Yonder.
I think we got like he was,
I mean, he
upset
left Donna
about stuff.
behind.
Well, yeah, there was like it was an almost perfect copy. So I mean,
True, true.
it was a fair thing to happen. But yeah, it never felt like he was getting really sloppy. I think, and they tried to kind of do it through verbally, telling us like, "Wow, you're staggering," and it's like, "Is he?" It seemed pretty all right to me,
Well, I
but
guess it wasn't like physically staggering; it was more mentally
I know, but
staggering.
even
But
that's what I mean. We didn't see him like, "Oh my God," like,
I guess the
what do I do
frustration with the
now?
flux, like just being like tired and frustrated and blaming himself for a lot of things. I guess that was more of the setup. Was just like there is so much weighing on his mind, like particularly post flux, that he's just.
Yeah, yeah. I think there just could have been maybe a little bit more, but you know what? Small. These are all, anything I say is
Yeah.
small things. Overall, I really did love the episode. I think
Hmm.
they're just things that I think about, which maybe stop it from being anything that's like, oh my God, 10 out of 10,
Okay.
one of my top faves ever.
Hmm.
But yeah. So I love the bit when the Doctor's one with the kind of marionette that was
That
creepy.
was.
Donna's one was a bit more. I don't know. I didn't quite get. There wasn't
Huh.
much.
I actually
I don't
found it
know.
was more the
What
other
was there
way
anything?
around. I thought the CG in the fourth in the
Oh,
puppet
yeah, the
was
CG.
odd, but I was actually legitimately kind of creeped out by the smaller dolls, the Suki Su and the
I think
babies.
yes, in terms of creepiness, but I found like the reality of becoming this marionette and being stuck in
Oh
this domain
yeah,
was far more horrific almost, like than.
Yeah,
Though I didn't like when they showed the Doctor one. I preferred it
yeah.
if it just stayed as the other guy.
The premise of it, and like the toy maker
Yeah,
looming above and actually, playing him like a marionette was so cool. But
yeah.
like, just in terms of like what actually like in the moment, I was like, oh my goodness, it was actually kind of a bit freaked out about it. Was the other dolls, to be honest. You know.
Which one? Just the Suki Sue or the babies,
I
or
mean,
just all of them?
kind of, but well, it was more, Suki Sue coming out of the
Yeah, the
shadows, and
shadows. Yeah,
yeah,
creepy. That was creepy. I do need to rewatch this episode. But yes, obviously that they get to the theatre show, and that's quite a great bit where
oh,
he's doing all the
yeah,
puppet
I love
shows.
this moment. Like, this is one of the
This is
standouts.
this whole bit from where they get to here to then leaving this bit is
Yeah,
probably the bit of the episode that stands out most for me,
hmm.
and is the scene where I'm
Yeah,
like, this was really, really
hmm.
good. So obviously, he shows the show. It's funny.
Oh,
It's like all the Moffat era, basically.
yes, yes. Well, because I
Nothing
mean,
from the only Flux from the Chibnall, but you
well,
can't use companions because they all left all right, really.
yeah, that was the point. Yeah, you couldn't
they sh-
say that.
they should have done. And Dan, his house was gone, and he died on the streets because he was homeless. But he had a dog friend, and that's
All
all right
right
then.
then. And poor Yaz had her heart broken,
So she
and
took
was then
her own life.
unceremoniously dumped.
Yep.
And then there was Ryan, who couldn't ride a bike.
Yeah, and then Ryan, he rode his bike off a cliff. But he could finally ride it. Well, that's all right
Right
then.
then. No, but I love that
And Graham, his mental health deteriorated after his best friend couldn't give him any support when they talked about their cancer returning. I was socially awkward. Well, that's all right
right
then.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, but
there's a lot of jokes you
I
obviously
love
with
that
that scene.
they had like
Yeah.
the actual puppets of like the previous companions, and talked about the Moffat era's tendency for like killing off the companion, but also not really killing them off.
Not quite killing them off, but
Not
he's
like
like,
fully committing. Like, yeah. Like
yeah,
that really was a trend in that time. It's like, yeah, that is, but when you point it out like that, like, yeah, that is a bit.
is literally all the Moffat companions.
Yeah, but
No, they didn't mention River Song, did they? I think they did
no.
later on, but not
Well, to be
in that
fair,
scene.
yeah, I mean that's hmm,
She lived her life, and then she died.
yeah,
But yeah, like it was the main three, and then obviously the Flux and the planets, and that it was an enjoyable moment. And then the game bit, this is where like it went from that was a good scene, and now like
hmm,
the card game, awesome game.
hmm,
Awesome moment. Two people sat across each other, and yet so
hmm,
tense because it is down to chance, right? It's
yeah,
a 50-50 almost.
yeah,
Um, and I love the conversation that they have when he's shuffling the cards, where he's saying what he did and all the things he's done,
hmm.
how he found the master desperate and offered him a game to save his life, and now he keeps him in a gold tooth for
With
all eternity.
yeah,
Which I'd love to see that scene.
hmm.
Like, imagine watching the
Yeah,
master play
and
this game and then terrified that he's lost it.
and
Like,
and
oh,
that could be at any blimmin' point in time. Like, you know, like literally, I guess that could be up to somewhat interpretation. Because I don't even know if the next time we see the master, they're gonna, follow up from this. The master could just show up again, rather than them actually having him like appear out of the gold tooth or anything. And then this could
oh,
just be like something hanging, like
yeah,
like, so it could have been like at any point it could have been after before the Decade Master, or it could have been after Eric Roberts' master to get him out of the Eye of Harmony, or it could have been after Missy, or after John Sim, or of course the where it's placed, it makes you think it's going to be after the most recent master, but it could
yeah.
technically be anywhere after Planet of Fire, even. They never
Yeah,
explain that.
it is. It's it was a really good moment. I don't think Russell will write. He wrote himself into a corner
Hmm.
with the hand picking up the tooth at the end, right? But I think he also loves that he's done that because he's now
Yeah.
going to come up with the character. Who is that?
Hmm.
Who is that who picked up the tooth? And I genuinely think that when he eventually comes back around to do the Master, which we know the Master's going to be rested for a while,
Yeah.
which good because the
Good.
Master's been in it since
The Master should have been rested after
2014.
Missy, to be honest.
Yeah,
Not I didn't
because Missy
enjoy
was in
moments, but
2014, 15, 17.
yeah.
You know, those which were the seasons. Then we had a rest,
But
but then back with Spyfall and
yeah.
then
But
returned
there wasn't much
subsequently
for
since.
rest. I mean, that was the frustrating thing, was just that Missy's end was kind of like a good point in time to where to say, okay, this is a break. Like, you know, Missy has now gone on this like arc and is now, essentially, from the looks of things to the outside, died. You know, um, so that kind like, I think I was saying at the time that would have been like a perfect time to just not have the Master, but instead
Yeah,
Tyndall comes along, reverses all that character stuff, and very
yeah,
very quickly in the grand scheme of things.
yeah. It's like he had the idea for doing like the Spy Master and was like,
Mm,
there we go.
yeah.
Because it was like the Master almost, I think, needs a rest. So the Master should appear for a Doctor, then not for a Doctor, appear for a Doctor, and not for a Doctor. Because I think, or
Mm,
right at the end, be right at the
yeah.
end,
Or
or
there's
right
just
at the
enough of a
beginning and then not
gap, you
again.
know.
Like, yeah, that's what I mean.
Like,
Like they should appear once during an era or twice, but far apart. Because
yeah.
I think, because then you end up
Mm,
the Master pairing up with people, and I
mm.
start to,
Usually the
you know,
Cybermen.
and that's getting tiring as
Yeah.
well. So.
I mean, I don't necessarily mind the Master being like occasional crop up presence. I mean, I think I also said this
That's what
on
I
this
mean.
as well at some
Occasional,
point.
occasional.
It was just like, you don't necessarily have to have the Master die, just to have the Master show up every now and then, kind of like, particularly with like Anthony Ainsley's Master, who just sort of
Yeah,
showed up every now and then. I mean, he was
that's
in
it.
both Collins seasons and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But that was towards the end. But you know what I mean? Like Deadly Assassin.
hmm. And
Then
they did appear a few times
didn't
during
appear
Peter
for
Davison.
ages.
But
Then yeah,
yeah,
and then do you know what I mean?
yeah,
There was bigger gaps.
yeah.
So during the card game, the Toymaker also mentions how there was one being
Hmm.
that he didn't dare go near, and that
Yeah.
was someone else's game. And I love
Hmm.
that bit. Like, oh my God, what's this god afraid of?
Yeah.
Like, it just builds up, right?
Is that the
The boss
boss? Is
is
that someone
cool.
completely different?
Yeah,
Is it someone we know? Because there are very few characters who would potentially match that sort of power level. You could think of like Omega or Sutek or you know maybe a couple
I
other
think
people. But
I think it
also
might be
it
one
could
of
be
those
someone
two.
complete. Quite possibly someone completely new.
Yeah, could be Rassilon,
Could
maybe.
be. I mean, I don't think Rashalon on his own is
Would
really
be
that
good. I
powerful.
think Omega though. Omega's insane, right?
Oh, yeah. Give it holding an entire like universe, world of his creation, like in antimatter, in a black hole,
Out of
is
pure
like
will. Yeah.
insane level of power. And like I said, the only ones I can think of is stuff like Sutek, maybe Fenric as well.
Yeah, yeah, but I feel like
But
Omega is someone that you could do so much with as a
mm,
character. That's just the one
true.
where I'm like, Sutek, yeah, but Omega just is a bit more. It's just
I'm
something
just thinking in terms of anybody who could kind
personal.
of match
But
that
yeah,
description in
yeah,
terms of people we know, you know. But again, for all we
could
know,
be
it could be
someone
someone
new. Yeah,
completely new, and I'm
which would
very,
be
very much
exciting as
open to
well.
that possibility.
I kind of hope the
Um,
boss and this person are separate.
yeah, same, same.
I kind of like that. I'd like the boss to be the kind of finale of this upcoming season, but then that thing, that other game, will
Yeah.
be then the following
Mm,
season. Like, build it up, build it over
yeah.
seasons. You thought this was a big bad. Well, guess what? The bigger bad is coming.
Yeah,
A bit
yeah.
like that's well, it's how Marvel did it, right? And
Yeah.
it works. You
Mm,
have to have that rise, that build up, pay off, and then
yeah.
it's why series 1 to 4 is so successful
Yeah.
in Doctor Who when you watch it. it is like a through line. It's perfect, like almost up to that journey's end,
Yeah.
stolen Earth, like that. It only works because of the past 3 years build up.
Yes. Yes.
Really, you know,
I mean, heck, end of time,
great stuff.
really. But also,
And
yeah.
then yeah, up to then. But yeah,
Also, the other interesting thing the Toymaker says here is that he messed up the Doctor's timeline like a jigsaw puzzle,
yes. How
which
did
is
you like my little jigsaw puzzle, Doctor? Which is
very
such a perfect way to move over any cracks. You know,
yeah.
is
Well,
it half human? Maybe he is, maybe he's not.
yeah.
From
That
Gallifrey? Maybe, maybe not. Timeless Child? Maybe, maybe not.
why did he leave? I don't know. It could be any number of things, Yeah, that's what Russell was saying is that, like, yeah, it can just kind of be, And I mean, I kind of hope that isn't, I guess, a crutch. I guess is the one thing I'd say about that going forward, that, they feel like they could, completely ignore stuff without, like giving like a bit of explanation, but
No, I think the Toymaker can only do it up to this point in the Doctor's timeline. Does the future
well,
even exist if this Doctor hasn't regenerated? Time's an odd one, right? Like, because
hmm.
if this Doctor died, then well, there would be no future, right? So there's not
Well,
any future incarnations.
I,
Everything's always in,
I mean,
ironically, flux.
Doctor
So
apparently being able to go and meet his future selves in like multi-Doctor stories and such would kind of imply that you are. I mean, the fact that David Tennant doesn't like in the episode The Next Doctor, the fact that he doesn't immediately like rule out the possibility of David Morrissey being his future incarnation, I guess as well. Sort of like that isn't a law, I guess.
I suppose
Plus,
so.
the curator is supposed to be a future Doctor, although also is he? Um,
Yeah, is he now or was he? I like how Russell's kind of tastefully sidestepped the timeless child thing in a way that yes, that could be the canon,
hmm,
or it could not be the canon. It's
yeah.
kind of now Doctor Who could be whatever your head canon is. I
Although apparently it's
really
going to
like that.
be like, yeah, they're going to talk about it going forward. It's going to
Yeah,
be,
I don't mind them talking about
yeah,
it, but it's like just don't. I referencing not knowing what your past is fine.
yeah,
Being like, well, I could be this time, I could be from another universe. Like, I might not be. Like the Toymaker has messed with my
hmm,
life, and now I don't know what's real or not. I
yeah,
am lost. But I mean, the Doctor's also had therapy now, so I mean,
yeah.
what is Shooty really needed to talk
Well, I
about it? Who
mean,
knows?
Russell specifically did say that, like just because the doctors, well, I mean, something to the effect of, yeah, the doctors in, had it doesn't just it doesn't mean that he's completely, all emotion for things of the
Yeah,
past is
sorted.
gone, like just because things are, yeah, he's more with it and together and sorted certain things, doesn't necessarily mean everything, you know.
Yeah. So the Doctor loses card game, and he pulls the well best of three, which was
Yes.
great. I love that. That was really really good. They go back to the future, where Toy Baker's basically there. Spice Girls
Spice
getting a nice bit
Girls.
of money.
God,
Really great
it
sequence.
was wonderful. Like, I mean, that
Such a
was
great
not
sequence.
what I'd say, like, lots of people, of course, are trying to like compare and contrast it to the Rasputin scene in Power of the Doctor, but I think this is so
So
much better, to
different.
be honest. Because like it wasn't just
He
like,
kills people for
yeah,
fun
this
in
is
wacky
just,
ways.
yeah, exactly. Like, this is a truly threatening and terrifying scene, but done to the like a dancing to and to the rhythm of a Spice Girls
Yeah,
song,
it's like it's
rather than it
turning
just being
petals,
an awkward
bullets into
dance where the
petals.
Daleks and Cybermen awkwardly look at each other.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's like, bullets to petals and I love how that's brought up when they're
Hmm.
on the helipad and is like, you have so much power, you could do so much good.
Yeah,
And yet,
yeah,
why?
yeah.
And I love
It,
his reaction, his response about how he loves games and
hmm.
winning. And you could just, because it's really hard. How do you write a god character who, let's be honest, we'd never be able to fully understand a
No.
god because had you ever? But I thought Russell managed to really make a believable thing about his motivations felt real. It
Yeah.
felt like he really cared about the game and the gambling and the winning and the losing and the playing
Yes.
to rules and all that. Just it really
With these very
his
specific made a point, like, no, he will not cheat. It is, you know.
cheats. Yeah, the rules of the game are sacred almost. Like he
Yeah.
has, and it's what the first Doctor said in the Celestial Toymaker, which is every now and then he loses the game and he has to start from scratch.
Hmm.
So yeah, so obviously the scene plays out and the 14th Doctor gets shot with the big laser, which yeah, I didn't see coming. My
Well,
partner Lily did.
also,
Um,
I'll just say quickly before we say that, like, the Toymaker beforehand, and, you know, I'd say this was kind of something building, but, like, sort of plays around with, like, aiming the laser at, like, you know, the different people in the
Everyone,
background,
yeah.
including Donna. Which is which is a significant point because Russell T throughout this entire marketing build up to this point was so heavily like hinting that Donna would die.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
throughout like so many of his Instagram posts, he was like consistently like when people were saying stuff or you know when he was posting stuff, like he was so heavily hinting that you know Donna would die at some point. And again, I think as we said last week, we almost thought that was going to happen then. You know, like there'd be some tragic end to
Oh
Donna's
God, yeah.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be part of his like game making, playing with the Doctor with that. But yeah,
Hmm. But that didn't happen.
no,
He's played
that's
with
okay.
us.
I
He
don't mind
played
that.
with our
I don't mind.
emotions.
I don't mind that. You know what? I had a feel. I always felt Donna was going to be all right. I'd feel like it
Hmm.
would be really bad move to bring her back, bring back the memories, and then also kill her off.
Yeah.
Like I never saw. Had we had a whole series, maybe, but I don't know.
Hmm.
I just feel like 60 years and everything. I never felt like Donna was gonna die. I knew she'd get the memories back. I didn't know whether it
Yeah.
would be like like she can get them back for this period, and then once. Obviously, I thought the Toymaker was gonna be like more of a 3 episode thing,
Yeah.
so I thought maybe like he was part of a reason why she got her memories back because he's a god. He can do whatever he likes and
Yeah.
control that. And then once they defeat him, uh oh, my memories are going. I'm gonna forget you again.
Yeah.
This has been nice. Bye. And then the Doctor would go off and regenerate. Was my
Hmm.
kind of thinking.
Yeah.
That was not what happened.
No.
The Doctor gets shot
Hmm.
through the chest. It was a very cool moment. They did a cool leany back shot as it kind of
Hmm.
went through him. Though no big hole in the chest, which fair enough. Okay.
I guess it's just the
Um,
kind of laser it is.
I thought they were going to do Bill Potts, but hey, oh well.
Hmm.
And yeah, so by generation. Let's cut
Hmm.
to the chase. The Doctor gets pulled by finger.
Yeah.
Instead of farting, he
I mean, actually, I'd
he.
just say, just not to. But the scene before that was really nice. Like the actual build up to the regeneration was lovely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, like and completely in stark contrast to the end of time, just because he's more willing to accept it. He's mature.
I think
He's not gonna
Alonzi.
throw a
Yeah.
tantrum. And you know, like unlike I don't want to go, Alon Z, which is let's go.
Let's go.
You know, he's all
Yeah.
ready, and
Yeah.
Mel and Donna being there to be alongside him as two
Yeah. I
people who
mean,
have
he's dying
sort of
with
seen him
people.
regenerate.
Yeah.
I mean, Donna sort of a fake regeneration, but you know they've kind of seen it happen. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then yeah, obviously Mel had been well, kind of saw the
I
regeneration,
mean,
not
she was
really. She saw the
unconscious,
aftermath.
but
Yeah, she saw the aftermath. But
yeah.
yeah, really wild moment of the bi
Yes.
generation. And yeah, so obviously had a few days, had some time to think about
Hmm.
it. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Still a weird
Hmm.
concept. It's gonna take a long
There's a
while for
lot
me
of
to really.
ifs and buts about it. Like in
That's
terms of
it.
the episode itself, I really actually from the off,
I
I
love
was
this.
I was for it. You know, I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
with it. I mean, I was of course I was confused, but you know, like the way they kind of explain it in the episode in terms of just like essentially being like. Yes, 15 regenerates here, but you know, like he's still after the end of the 14th Doctor, and you know, therapy still has to happen, and you know, whatnot. Like that, you know, like I'm okay with that. Where it gets confusing is Russell's thing about it rippling throughout the rest of the timeline, where it becomes a bit.
there's a version that regenerates and a version that doesn't, kind of thing. So the Doctor will live out till they're old, fade away, and then kind of rejoin with the main timeline, kind of thing. Is
Right.
almost
I still don't
that's the
know
way
what
I
to
look at
feel
it.
about
Because
that.
in the
Yeah.
Tales of a TARDIS with Sylvester McCoy, he says that because Ace goes, "Oh, you're all old now," and it's like, "Yes, well, time's a particular thing, you know. In one reality, I regenerate, and in another, I
To be
don't."
honest, I think that was enough. Just because Russell's whole thing with this was just to sort of like have like an out if they bring back any like past Doctors again. It's just, well, yes, they're older because this is like on that bi regeneration thing. But like, I think the whole thing about it just being a Doctor from another reality where they don't regenerate at that point was enough, to be honest. Like, I'm fine with biogeneration for this regeneration as like a rare one-off thing, as they make it out like a big deal. Like, the Time Lords didn't know anything about this. This is a
Yeah, this
super
is a
rare thing.
myth,
We didn't
you
know if it
know.
was a thing. I'm not really as much on board with it being like a thing that ripples throughout the timeline. You know, and I mean, you know, in the commentary they were even like sitting there like speculating, oh, how would this Doctor, you know, how you know, this Doctor would just wake up here and such, and
In the morgue, yeah, you know,
I
like.
can't, yeah, or could probably just waking up on the floor of his TARDIS.
Yeah, the modern ones are a lot easier. They just be in the TARDIS every time.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, I'm still conflicted by that side of it. And I mean, I guess again, you know, Toymaker playing with the Doctor's life, you know, it could be whatever
yeah,
now.
yeah,
But you know, even just in premise, and particularly since Russell seems to want to do more with it in whatever way that is, maybe you know, bringing back another classic Doctor at some point. I don't know. You know, I guess that's the only thing I can
yeah,
think of with that. Um, yeah, I'm not quite sure I'm on board with that. Like I said, I was just happy enough with the Tales of the TARDIS explanation. I kind of, you know, wish he'd just left it at that. But, okay.
yeah.
Whatever, you know, it's a
It
thing.
almost adds more confusion to it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's a
perhaps,
bit too much if all of them are doing that. Like,
yeah,
because it's almost like, okay, so whenever the Doctor dies, what does this ripple in the
is this
future
going to
or
keep
only in his
happening?
past?
Yeah, is
Like,
this...
yeah,
Yeah,
and it
and
wasn't
it
ever
kind of somewhat
fully.
lessens the impact of the regeneration. I mean, you know, I was watching like Peter Capaldi talk. Yeah, there was like an interview clip about Peter Capaldi talking about how he finds regeneration not too, you know, so much about death and rebirth and renewal and such. And I don't think he'd be very on board with this whole premise, to be honest.
Yeah, it's. I didn't mind it for this one, the whole
Yeah.
rippling back, but you know what? I don't really think they're going to do too much. I think
Mm,
that's Russell has said a lot in the past about what he thinks happens in things, but it's
yeah.
only ever head canon until it's
True.
really written into the show.
But he has the power
And
to
in
do
this,
it.
oh, he has the power to do it, and until he does it, but I'm not gonna
Mm,
sweat too much about what he said in
yeah.
like the commentary. You know, that may never
True.
come up. If it does, it does, and then we'll
Mm.
deal with it when we get
And he
there.
does say,
But
"I
anyway,
think" in that, but he also does say that that might come back. But anyway, yeah,
I want to talk about Shooty Gatwa because
yeah.
baby, he was
It is
fucking awesome
pants.
from the moment he was on screen.
Mm,
I loved how straight away it's like, oh yeah, this is me.
yes.
This is me. I am the Doctor, and
Mm,
straight away, just his swagger, his vibe. I
yeah.
cannot fucking wait
Oh
for
yeah.
Christmas.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
just even the trailer of watching him was awesome. But he was amazing in this episode.
Mm,
I loved how he felt older. Right,
yeah.
he feels older than David Tennant. He
Mm.
feels so sure of
Well, he feels like he's been through
himself. You know,
therapy.
yeah, he's so sure of himself. He's like, hey, I know what I'm doing. You know, here's your prize, baby.
Yeah.
Boom, second TARDIS,
Mm.
and you know he just is like, okay, fuck off. I want to go adventure now. Go do your therapy so I can go do this. I've been dying to do this kind of thing. Is almost how it feels.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like he doesn't mind that he's alone in the TARDIS. He's like, yeah, let's go. Need
Mm.
some chairs, but yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there wasn't so much. There was some really nice moments. I love the bit where he was talking to 14 and they were
Yeah.
talking about Adric and all the
Oh
things they've
yeah,
been
like
through.
bringing up
Gods of
so many like
Ragnarok,
deep cuts, but like
Key to
important people.
Time.
Yeah, Marvick Chen, which you know it seems
Yeah,
random on the surface, but the Time Destructor from the Daleks' Master Plan is legitimately one of the most chilling concepts Doctor Who has ever brought up.
Yeah.
really, and one of the most dangerous weapons it's ever produced alongside the moment. So it's fitting.
Yeah, that Gods of Ragnarok,
Gods of
Key to
Ragnarok, yeah.
Time, Adric, Time War. Yeah, there
River,
was a few others they
Rose,
mentioned. River,
Rose,
yeah.
Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane dying, yes, officially now
Mm,
canonized on
yeah.
camera. That
Which,
she's gone, which
I
is,
mean, given
God,
Russell
that one
wrote
hurt.
the lockdown,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
think,
mean, you have to explain why she's not there anymore, or
yeah.
she would have been there, right? She'd have been there
Oh
straight
yeah,
away in these
yeah.
stories.
I mean, it was always kind of weird with that because the Brigadier got such like a big like deal made out of it post like Nicholas Courtney's death, but Sarah Jane, they just sort of danced around the issue for a while, I
I think it
guess.
was just a bit too sad for kids. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah,
it made me sad. It hurt me at that moment. Like I
yeah.
felt
Of
like
course, same,
the
same.
still
I
the
don't mean
slight grief.
immediately, you know, but
It's that grief. It's like that slight tinge of grief that you still get
mm,
from like, I miss Liz Slade and I miss
same,
that
yeah,
show.
yeah,
You know, yeah. But that was such a lovely moment with those two there.
mm,
I can't wait for Shooty. I can't wait for all of that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm excited to watch it again, just to watch that. But so one thing, Catch being the final game. To me, I remember watching it and be like, I know it's a basic game, and
yeah,
that's fine. I liked that it was basic. That felt traditional. But he just missed the ball,
yeah.
right?
I mean,
And that it just felt like I felt like there should have been something just a bit smarter. Like the
yeah,
Doctor, not. I know it's not. He can't outsmart the Toymaker, but
yeah.
outplaying him. There's two of you v one of him. You can use that to your advantage. Like
Yeah, true. I
it
mean,
should
they
have been
kind of
some.
kind of do, you know, just in terms of the
They
way
do,
they.
but it was like a montage, and like when they threw it at him, the Toymaker just missed it. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a pretend throw at Shooty and then a quick one at like the
Mm,
Toymaker, and then he's
yeah.
caught off guard. Right? That would have been far better. Or like Shooty stands in front of the Toymaker,
Mm,
pretends to gonna catch it. He
yeah.
ducks whilst the Doctor says Toymaker, throws it.
Mm,
Shooty ducks out the way.
yeah.
He's not ready for it.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It generally was just he threw it and dropped it, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I felt like they could have even done a contact
Mm,
reference, or like, right, we're gonna
mm,
play this game together, contact.
yeah.
Or Shooty's
Mm,
like, I know every throw you're gonna do, so the Doctor could do more complicated throws, right? Like,
yeah.
I just, I felt like it just needed something a bit smarter than just
Mm,
he misses it. Oh, okay.
mm,
Oh
yeah.
no! Like there was just something that it didn't feel satisfying. It didn't
Mm,
feel satisfying that they
yeah.
beat him in that moment. I loved all the multi-doctor stuff. Loved seeing them jumping around catching it,
Yeah.
but he just dropped the ball,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah. Well,
and
I guess
it
that.
was like I don't know. I guess that's the
Yeah,
point,
I guess that
but
is the point because this is a god that can mess with the reality and mess up atoms, but in a fair and even game of catch where he's not cheating and not using any of his powers, he can just drop the ball.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
I
that is
guess I
kind
just
of
I
it.
wanted him. I wanted it to be out of cockiness or something. Just
Hmm.
something made him miss it, rather than just it. Ooh, it
Hmm.
was just a shot of his hand kind of missing it, and oh,
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna jump after it and catch it. I thought like, what can't he use his godlike powers? Like, is there a rule in catch where it says, yeah, you can't
Well,
teleport to
everybody
catch
needs to
something?
be on even ground. I guess.
I guess they should have said that though, like you can't use your god powers, and he'd be like, of course. Just the line as to
I
why.
guess that, yeah. I mean, I guess it's implied by just the fact that he doesn't want to cheat because
I guess
if he uses godlike powers, he wouldn't
is
lose.
that cheating the game, man.
he,
I guess I suppose so. But then that's like that should be the challenge, right? Like, I don't know. I just needed something just a little bit smarter in that moment, just to
okay,
feel more
yeah,
satisfactory,
I can
like a
see it.
bit
I can
more
see
like
it. Yeah.
they outsmarted him, they outplayed him.
Hmm.
They used tactics to beat him at a game. That is how you win games, right? So, hey ho. But again, that's probably my biggest qualm with the episode where I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
it just didn't feel like the smartest way to be the toy maker. And that's why
Sure,
I feel
sure.
like, do you know what would have been a better game is the card game would have been better at that point. I
True.
know you don't need both doctors for that, but do you know what I mean? The tension is much higher in that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I mean, they did set up the whole fact it would be something with
Balls
a
and
ball
catching.
game
Yeah,
earlier on in
yeah,
the
yeah,
episode, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Hey ho. Small thing.
Mm.
Anyway, the doctor's living out his life with the
Yeah.
nobles, which I'm like, so
Also,
few things is like the doctor spent like 70 years at the university, right? So the doctor could live with the
oh,
nobles for 70 years, but I don't know. I don't know
well,
what's he gonna do at that time. I hope you're gonna give him an actual therapist who is clued
well,
in with
maybe.
everything.
I'd say first off, just as a small note, and maybe slight spoilers if you're, going into the. I haven't read the Target novel, but I've seen an extract, right? But and if
Ah,
you're
okay.
planning reading it, but the house at the end, that's the Doctor's one he paid
Right,
for and owns himself.
right. So he's bought a house
He's
and
bought
lives
a
there.
house,
Interesting.
yes. So that's something. There's clearly
Do,
some
do,
sort of
you-
income,
do,
maybe.
do you know what my
Unless he sought his screwdriver at the ATM again.
I mean, he could do. My issue with the Doctor just living life is he'd absolutely fucking ace it.
Hmm.
He could do anything.
Yeah.
He'd be able to do stocks and he'd be a fucking multi-millionaire within a week.
Yeah.
Easy life. And it's like, so I don't know. I guess it's
I
like
guess that isn't the
I'd have
point,
liked to seen
though.
him going on walks and just traveling, but
Yeah.
like just in the
Well, they just
country,
picked one
on
moment,
planes.
with like his sort of, I guess, new, like,
New
found
family.
family.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
guess that was the important thing. Wasn't so much to have him know what he does day to day, but just know that he's in a better place with like a proper support network and people who love and care about him.
Yeah.
I guess was the important thing there. Was just you know just to have a nice moment. I don't think there was ever going to be like a montage of the Doctor climbing Everest or um
I know. I guess it's like for me, it's how long is he going to spend there?
who knows. I
This
mean,
is
and
this is
that's what they were
the
kind of
interesting thing.
you know that was kind of the point they were saying, was that Donna was like, you don't have to stay, and he's just sort of he's makes kind of a light comment on that. I mean, clearly he's
I
still
guess like
doing trips with Mel and Rose,
yeah. I guess
like
it's
small
like
trips, not like proper trips, but they're doing trips.
I guess like doing that and then almost like Thanos heading off to his garden, chilling there. Do you know, like
Yeah,
on a different planet, retiring there for a bit,
yeah.
just retire, just retirement homes over
Hmm.
lots of different places. Because for the Doctor to really heal, obviously the Doctor like taught at the university for like 70 years, right?
Yeah,
70 years
but
isn't enough. Like,
yeah, but
I guess
also
maybe it
not
needed to be
really.
this Doctor, the most human Doctor, to do so.
Well, I mean, there's that, and just the fact that that wasn't like a retirement. He was the doctor. Capaldi's doctor was there to guard Missy. Like, there was still something constantly weighing on his
Weighing,
mind.
yeah, I
It
suppose so.
wasn't. It
I
wasn't.
guess
It
say
wasn't
with
a mental
Trenzalore.
break. It wasn't therapy.
Yeah,
And that was also somewhat the case with Matt Smith's doctor. Like, yeah, he spent all that time on
Trenzalore,
Trenzalore,
yeah.
but he was constantly
Fighting.
fighting off all those who would come and attack Trenzalore. There wasn't, I guess, like moment of mental breakage. Like, sure, yeah, he was teaching at a uni, but again, like
Yeah,
he had responsibilities why he needed to be there. You know,
yeah.
I guess, but the important thing about this, like just out of the page, is that I guess this whole section really does signal the end of an era. You know, like like it was Russell T in the beginning who kind of introduced this like building trauma. I mean, yeah, events in the classic series contributed to it, but it never really actually had like a much of a tangible
Never had weight
impact
in the classic era,
of the
yeah.
Doctor. That was Russell T's thing, was that there would be survivor's guilt from the Time War, and then from there more and more incidents built up.
Yeah.
But this is a very clear break and sort of end to that line of thinking with the Doctor's character, and I guess Shooty's Doctor is gonna kind of come into it as kind of on a similar level to the classic series Doctors in a way. More
I
experienced for
think so.
sure, but in terms of like just where he lines up, kind of more on that side of the emotional spectrum rather than what we've had for the past 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to just that kind of clean slate. I'm so excited for Christmas.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it was actually the third thing they shot actually in the new block. So Shooty's going to be absolutely firing on all
Oh
cylinders, kind
yeah.
of thing at this point. Like, I know those were his first scenes, and he was already fucking great in
Oh
there.
yeah.
But like, I think he'll be really in his stride already to this episode because it's not even the first one he
Hmm.
shot. It's
Yeah.
a few stories in now. So,
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah. I
excited.
am looking forward to
Yeah,
the
can't
future,
wait.
but
Just
yeah, absolutely.
excited for the trailer for the series
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
episode, which we'll definitely
That
get,
too.
let's be
That
honest.
too.
So
But yeah,
much to look forward to.
this did feel like sort of a fitting conclusion to what we've had, and it also very much makes sense why they are sort of starting the numbering again, because for the new audiences, and but those
Yes, that
coming in on like
element.
Disney Plus and whatnot, like yeah,
Yeah.
they're not gonna want all this baggage, and you know what, like even fans, like it's been so long, and like do we need like a continuing build of traumas, I guess, like I think it's, well, we might, but it has to be stuff that we see post this point. I
I
think.
don't think it needs to be trauma. I think it just needs to be more fear and as of
Mm,
rather than reacting to what's come before, reacting to what's happening
yeah,
there and now.
yeah,
Stuff that's happening with companions there and now. I think there's going to be a mystery planted. I think because it's like Ruby's supposed to be, adopted. So I think there's going to be
yeah,
something about why her parents gave her up because she was left at a church basically on
mm,
Ruby Road. So
yeah,
I assume that, there's going to be plot there. What's that?
yeah,
What's who's pulling the strings with that? So yeah, it'll be very
mm,
interesting. But I love the trailer. I love the look of
yeah.
the goblin ship in the sky,
Also, the
goblin
Goblin song
song.
being like #1 on
A bit of a
iTunes is
yeah.
hilarious.
It's a bop. It is a
It is,
bop
it
as
is,
well.
it is. It's
It's a
great.
good bop. Oh, it's also a bit distressing listening to people sing how they want to eat a
About
baby.
eating
Even,
baby.
the whole scene's distressing, like watching it, and it's like the doctor's like amazing, and I'm like, no, doctor, feel the gravity of the situation.
Again, he's an
But yeah,
alien.
yeah, I'm super excited because I think Christmas is going to be a romp. I think
Yeah.
Goblins is a great first villain because they're not. You don't really have to explain goblins too
No,
much. They
I
don't
mean, I'm sure they
need big
will.
motivations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have, but I think their motivations are they like eating babies,
Mm.
and Earth's a great place to do that.
Yeah.
It's simple, so you can focus on Ruby and you can focus on the new Doctor.
Yeah.
They're facing this threat. It's a difficult threat because there's so many of
Yeah.
them. What do you do? And perfect
Yeah.
Christmas fun,
Yeah.
really.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
Christmas Day, fucking! I knew it would be Christmas Day. I knew
Yeah.
it as soon as Russell was back. I was like, it's back on Christmas, no
Of
doubt,
course. Of
never doubt
course.
in my
No.
mind.
No.
So
It's great.
so excited. I mean, how many? What we're 11 days away. 11? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, to be honest, it would have aired by now, so 10. 10 days away
True. True
in
that.
terms of
True
hours.
that.
Yeah. So almost in single digits of
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
left. And then we'll have Shooty's first full episode as the Doctor,
Indeed.
hopefully a
Indeed.
confirmed air date for the series,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
trailer for
Hoping
the
to.
series.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
And the
Indeed.
14th Doctor can crop up if they need him.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
ratings
again,
start to
apparently
drop.
that's not in the plans.
Glad. Yeah.
But we'll see. David's always willing to come back whenever asked.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
I
I'm
mean,
sure I'm
given they,
sure it will
yeah,
be like towards the end of Shooty's era or something for a special where they
yeah,
need some extra help.
the 65th
It'll
anniversary.
Yeah,
Nah,
something
I
like
mean,
that. or the spin-off, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And if it's all set on Earth, right? Well, the Doctor's
Well,
there,
again,
right?
if
So
there is a unit spin-off in particular, and Donna is
yeah,
now employed by unit because that
yeah. I
was
mean, she's got
apparently a
some good
thing.
money.
Maybe he can just crop up at some point randomly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, we don't even know about that. And in fact, the most common thing they're talking about now is this, sort of rumor about a spin-off called like a battle between, where they're just gonna have monsters battling between stuff
Okay, that could be one
with
series, I
like
suppose.
apparently sea devils.
Interesting. But what, like a animation series? Is that the
I
animated
don't
one?
think it's
There was a rumor that was
animation.
animated. Really
I don't
interesting.
I don't know exactly. I mean, we'll see. What they come up with. It was just a rumor that there has been like a trademark listed for the battle between, you know,
All right, that the battle between.
yeah,
Interesting.
and
I
the
think
rumor
there
was
was
the
rumors
battle
they were going
between
to
the
be.
land and the sea was the rumor. Although that might just
All
be an
right.
episode, although that could be the whole series. It could be a whole series dedicated
Interesting.
around sea devils.
Nice. I mean, they kind of be nice to get a better episode for them. I
Indeed,
know
indeed.
that
Well, they
oh
haven't had a
wait,
good one since
how
that
many
first one.
titles is that? So the battle between land and the sea. Oh, that's seven. Russell said two episodes have been handed in
Right.
for a spin-off, but the spin-off has eight. The title
Well,
is eight
maybe I've missed a
words.
syllable somewhere. I don't know.
The battle between the land and the sea. There we go.
Okay,
The battle between the land and the sea. That could be it.
maybe yes.
And two episodes have been handed in. So if the
Okay.
whole thing is called that, then that's probably a whole series
Hmm.
about sea devils attacking something,
Be interesting. The land.
which could be interesting. Yeah, yeah, but is it the land like land Silurians or land as in people? Who knows? Could
Maybe.
be
Yeah.
interesting.
But
Bring
yeah.
back a companion, chuck him in there, boom.
Yeah.
Stephen by the sea, he could be back. Interesting.
um, we'll see. We'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
Tegan. Tegan saw the sea devils
T-
before.
yeah. Tika's about. Ace is
Hello.
about. Now's about. Where did Solo end up going?
Back to
Oh, he
his
went
home
back to
planet.
his planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah.
nobody remembers
So
Turlo.
not him.
Even they mention like, oh, I'm the first redhead, and it's like, no, there was Turlo, and there was sorry, Liz Shaw.
Liz Shaw. Yeah. Hey ho.
Gosh, he keeps
Gosh.
forgetting Liz Shaw. Like, why does no one remember Liz
She never
Shaw?
travelled in the TARDIS. That's the line that he goes. It's like, well, she was just an
I
acquaintance. Never
guess,
travelled in my TARDIS.
but I like Liz Shaw. She doesn't deserve to be forgotten.
Right.
But yeah, very
Well,
happy
that's
with
all I
this
have to say
episode.
about the giggle.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really I loved it, and I felt like it was all appropriate. It kind of messed with our expectations for sure. Like we thought it
Yeah.
was going to be dramatic and that the Doctor was going to be, but the fact it went in the other direction, I don't mind for this.
I don't
As
mind.
like a
I like when it's not what I
because
expected because it makes it more
yeah,
entertaining. If I guess what it was before I
mm,
watched it, it's not
yeah,
always a good thing,
yeah. No,
you know?
I thought it was going to be
So
quite yeah. So
I called him his last words being like, "I'm ready to go." With the
yeah,
Alonzi,
yeah,
let's go. Like I called it. I
yeah.
knew those kind of his supposed last lines
But we don't know
were
his
gonna
real
be.
last lines.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting on how that works now. Whether he disappears, then
Yeah,
when he dies, what he just vanishes, and then
comes
his
back.
consciousness then wakes up in that moment in the giggle. And that's why it's like, yo, what the fuck's going on? I've just lived
Maybe.
2,000 years of the 14th
I mean
Doctor.
that's what we think. But again, there's been like so many contradicting statements that I don't know anymore. That's what I assumed was the case, though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
That's what I have to say.
All right.
Bye.
Boy.